What they didn't foresee, however, was a big Goliath making their way downtown with a big bag ready to spend now. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It's Project B. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It's Project B is coming and already stealing Unrivaled's player.
Okay, so let me break down what just happened here, because this is absolutely wild. Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart literally created Unrivaled thinking they had the entire WNBA offseason locked down. They thought every top player would be begging to join their league instead of going overseas. They genuinely believed they were about to change the game forever. But here's the kicker, they didn't see the money tsunami coming. Project B just showed up with bags so massive that Unrivaled looks like a lemonade stand. And the craziest part, players are already jumping ship. We're talking about athletes who committed to Unrivaled, who became equity partners, who literally helped build this thing from the ground up, and they're walking away. You're probably thinking this is just normal competition, right? New league versus established league, may the best one win. But hold up, this goes way deeper than that. Because what's happening right now is exposing something nobody wanted to talk about. The entire power structure of women's basketball is about to implode.
But lo and behold, Project B said, hold my beer, hold my beer. Alyssa Thomas was part of Unrivaled Season 1. She will be part of Unrivaled Season 2, but she will not be part of Unrivaled Season 3. Until Project B...
Did you catch that? Hold my beer. That's not just a throwaway line. That's the moment Unrivaled realized they're not the biggest fish anymore. Because Alyssa Thomas, 6-time WNBA All-Star, Unrivaled Season 1 player, equity partner in the league, just announced she's leaving for Project B after Season 2. Let me tell you something about what this actually means. When you're a startup league trying to establish legitimacy, losing your first major player isn't just bad press. It's a crack in the foundation. And once that first crack appears, the whole structure starts showing weakness. But here's what everyone's missing in all the headlines and Twitter drama. This isn't really about Alyssa Thomas. She's just the first domino. The real story is what happens when the other dominoes realize they can make more money, get better equity deals, and still maintain their leverage against the WNBA by going to Project B instead. Think about the psychology here for a second. You're a top WNBA player. You've been using Unrivaled as your bargaining chip against the league, saying pay us more or we'll go play there in the offseason. Now suddenly there's a bigger, richer option that pays even better. Your leverage just doubled, but Unrivaled's leverage just got cut in half.
Are they going to fall to the wayside? That's very possible. Are they going to get bought out by Project B? Yeah, here's some money and we'll just take your players and put this under. That's very well possible. Or are they going to continue to play hardball with the WNBA and just move their season out of the current window it's at, so instead of going head-to-head with Project B, now...
Okay, so now we're getting into the really fascinating part. Because what he's describing here is basically a three-way standoff between the WNBA, Unrivaled, and Project B. And players are sitting in the middle, with more options than they've ever had in the history of women's basketball. But check out what's actually happening behind the scenes. Unrivaled built their entire business model on two promises: massive salaries and equity ownership. They told players, you don't need to go to Russia or Turkey anymore. Stay in America, make great money, and own a piece of something special. That pitch worked. They got 36 of the best players in the world to commit. The first season generated real buzz. They secured TV deals, everything looked golden. Then Project B entered the chat, and get this. Project B isn't just matching Unrivaled's offer. They're blowing it out of the water. We're talking about salary numbers that make Unrivaled's unprecedented pay look like pocket change. Plus equity, plus international exposure in markets that actually have massive basketball fan bases. Now here's where the psychology gets really interesting. When Alyssa Thomas made her announcement, she didn't trash Unrivaled. She didn't say anything negative. She just posted a super low energy video saying she's thrilled to join Project B. That video quality was so bad that even the commentator called it out. Why didn't Project B make her redo this? You know what that tells me? This decision happened fast. Like really fast. Like we need to lock this down before anyone else makes a move. Fast. That's not the rollout of a carefully planned announcement. That's the scramble of a league trying to establish legitimacy by poaching talent before anyone can counteroffer.
The article goes on. WNBA MVP runner-up Alyssa Thomas on Tuesday became the second player to join Project B, the new women's basketball league that is expected to begin in Europe and Asia in November 2026. The Phoenix Mercury star announced her decision on social media a week after Aneka Ogwumike told the Associated Press that she would play in the new league, offering players high salaries and an equity stake. The same thing that Unrivaled's offering. High salaries and an equity stake. Unrivaled doesn't seem so appealing anymore.
Hold up. Did you catch what just happened there? He's pointing out the exact contradiction that exposes Unrivaled's entire problem. They were offering high salaries and equity stake as their unique selling proposition. That was supposed to be their competitive advantage, the thing that made them special. But now Project B is offering even higher salaries and equity stakes. So what makes Unrivaled special anymore? And this is where the business model starts falling apart. See, Unrivaled positioned themselves as the premium option. The league that valued players more than anyone else. The league that finally gave women's basketball athletes what they deserved. But here's the brutal truth about being the premium option. You're only premium until someone else offers more. And in business, there's always someone willing to offer more, especially when they're trying to break into a market. Project B looked at Unrivaled's entire pitch and said, "Cool story. Here's more money. Here's better equity terms. Here's global exposure. What else you got?" What's even more insane is the timing. Unrivaled just finished their first season. They're gearing up for season 2. They've got momentum, they've got buzz, they've got players already committed. This should be their moment to consolidate power and lock down long-term deals. Instead, they're watching their players get recruited away to a league that doesn't even start for another year and a half.
Go! Alyssa is the kind of player and person you build around. That's funny. The kind of person? Indeed. Project B's chief basketball officer, Alana Beard, told the AP, quote, "Her leadership, competitiveness, and professionalism elevate everyone around her." Professionalism? I don't think I've ever seen Alyssa Thomas beat.
Okay, this is where it gets really spicy, because he's not wrong about Alyssa Thomas and professionalism. And Project B's press release calling her professional is absolutely wild when you know her history. But let me tell you why this matters way beyond just calling out the irony. When a new league is trying to establish credibility, they need to tell a story about their players. They need to create narratives that make fans care. Project B is clearly going with the respected veteran leader narrative for Alyssa Thomas. The problem, anyone who actually watches WNBA basketball knows that's not her brand. Her brand is intensity, competitiveness, getting in people's faces, playing with an edge that sometimes crosses lines. That's not a criticism, that's literally what makes her effective as a player. But here's what Project B is really doing with that language. They're not describing Alyssa Thomas the player, they're describing Alyssa Thomas the business partner. Because remember, she's not just joining as a player, she's joining as a player partner and owner. That distinction is crucial. When you're an owner, the league needs you to be professional in press releases and public statements. Even if you're a warrior on the court, they're already starting to shape her public image to fit the narrative they need. And if you're Unrivaled watching this happen, you've got to be thinking, wait, we gave her equity too, we made her a partner too. Why is that pitch working better for Project B than it worked for us?
WNBA players, Project B and Unrivaled will have overlapping dates going forward. Project B runs alongside Unrivaled. And if you see the amount of injuries that takes place in Unrivaled, and they're paying her a hefty price, I would be very surprised if they're saying, yeah, you could go back and forth. Shoot, we'll even pay for your flight back and forth. You go to Miami, you come back. You go to Miami, you come back. You go to Miami, you come. One or the other. Alex Basil, Unrivaled president, said in a statement, "We're confident with what we've built in collaboration with our athletes, partners, and investors. We remain consistent in our approach to pay players competitively, provide a meaningful stake in the business, and keep them home year-round."
See what's happening here? This is the exact moment where the scheduling conflict becomes impossible to ignore. Project B and Unrivaled are going to run at the same time. That means players have to choose. You can't play in both leagues simultaneously. And once players have to choose, it becomes a straight-up money competition. Now here's where the dominoes really start falling. If you're a top-tier WNBA player, watching Alyssa Thomas get what we're hearing is a multi-million-dollar deal from Project B. What are you thinking? You're thinking, why am I locked into Unrivaled's contract when I could be making twice as much with Project B? And if you're a mid-tier player, who didn't get invited to Unrivaled but might have a shot at Project B. You're thinking this is my chance to finally cash in on the overseas money without actually having to deal with the isolation of playing in Russia or China. But let's talk about what he brought up with the injuries, because this is actually a massive factor nobody's discussing publicly. Unrivaled had a shocking number of injuries in their first season. We're talking about players who came in healthy and left with significant problems. That's not normal for a 3-on-3 league that's supposed to be less physically demanding than 5-on-5. If you're Project B recruiting players, you can whisper, "Hey, you saw what happened in Unrivaled. Players getting hurt left and right. Come play for us instead. We'll pay you more and you won't be risking your WNBA career in a league that's turning into an injury factor." That's a devastating pitch, because these players' real money still comes from the WNBA. If Unrivaled is jeopardizing that, why would anyone choose it over a safer, higher-paying alternative?
Unrivaled, do you know what will keep players home year-round? You know what would pay them competitively now? For the players to stop using Unrivaled as leverage and accept the WNBA deal? For the players to say, we can either go overseas and play Project B, the 66 of us, or we can stay home, make competitive salaries with a max deal nearing around $850,000 to $1 million, minimum salaries quadrupling plus to $300,000 for April, May, June, July, August, September, 7-ish months of work. That sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Or you can you can decline the deals, continue to decline the deals, and just move the Unrivaled season into the summer. So instead of just joking around that Unrivaled's just an off-season summer camp, it will actually be an off-season summer camp.
Okay, so now we're getting to the nuclear option. And this is where things get really interesting from a business strategy perspective. He's laying out 3 possible futures for Unrivaled. Let me break down what each one actually means, because this is where the psychology of leverage and power dynamics gets absolutely fascinating. Option 1, Unrivaled falls to the wayside. They can't compete financially, they lose all their top players, and the league just dies. That would be catastrophic for Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, who've invested massive amounts of time, money, and reputation into this venture. But it's definitely possible when you're getting outspent by a competitor with seemingly unlimited resources. Option 2, Project B buys them out. This is actually the most likely scenario if you think about it strategically. Project B gets an instant infrastructure, existing TV deals, and a player roster without having to build from scratch. Unrivaled's founders get a financial exit that saves face. Everyone walks away claiming victory. But here's what makes that complicated: ego. Collier and Stewart didn't build Unrivaled just to make money. They built it to have control over their own destiny, to create something that was there. Selling out to a bigger league defeats the entire purpose of why they started this in the first place. Option 3, Unrivaled moves their season to avoid competing directly with Project B. They become the Summer League instead of the Winter League. This is actually the smartest play if they want to survive, but it completely undermines their original leverage against the WNBA. Remember, Unrivaled's power came from giving players a lucrative off-season option. If they move to summer, they're now competing directly with the WNBA season itself. That's not leverage anymore. That's war. And in a war between an established league with decades of history and a startup with 2 seasons under its belt, who do you think wins?
So thrilled.
What's going on? Alyssa Thomas here with some exciting news. I am looking forward to joining Project B.
Hey, why didn't Project B say, hey, you got to redo this? Hey, this right here, yeah, you got to reshoot this, Alyssa. Come on, we're giving you a couple million, and this is the promo that we're gonna get out of you. This is the video that we're gonna get out of you. Nasty work, nasty work.
Did you see how low energy that announcement was? That's the video that's supposed to make fans excited about Project B. That's the promotional content that's supposed to generate buzz and social media engagement. And it's just Alyssa Thomas looking like she's recording a mandatory Zoom call for work. But here's what that actually reveals about the situation. This announcement happened so fast that Project B didn't have time to do it properly. They didn't fly Alyssa out for a professional video shoot. They didn't coordinate with their marketing team to create a compelling rollout. They just had her record something on her phone and pushed it out immediately. Why the rush? Because in a recruiting war, timing is everything. If Project B waited 2 weeks to do this announcement properly, Unrivaled might have had time to make a counteroffer. Other players might have had time to commit elsewhere. The element of surprise would be lost. So they sacrificed production quality for speed. And honestly, that might have been the right call. Because now every other Unrivaled player is seeing this announcement and thinking, wait, if Alyssa got enough money to leave, what could I get? That's the psychology of FOMO in action. Fear of missing out. Once one player makes a move, everyone else starts wondering if they should be making moves too. And in that moment of uncertainty, whoever's making offers has all the power. Project B created that moment of uncertainty deliberately. The bad video quality doesn't matter if the message gets through and the message is crystal clear. We have enough money to poach your players.
Or not, that's another question. Whether people will make time for it, that is another question. Folks, I watch Formula One. When they're over there playing in Singapore, it's hard to get up. It's hard. It's hard. It's tough. When they're over there in Japan, it's tough. It's tough. When they have the Chinese Grand Prix, it's tough. The Australian Grand Prix, I know they're not doing Australia, but still, it's tough. When things are in different time zones, it's tough to make time. It's tough to clear out your schedule to watch, especially in inaugural league that doesn't have Kalen Clark. Okay. Project Blunder. Are the player owners going to cancel it before it begins by selling off their equity before the season starts?
Okay, so now we're getting into the logistics nightmare that nobody wants to talk about. Because Project B isn't playing in the United States. They're playing in Europe and Asia. That means completely different time zones from American audiences. And get this, the commentator is already making excuses for why people won't watch. It's tough when things are in different time zones. Yeah, it is tough. You know what else is tough? Building a sustainable professional sports league when your target audience is asleep during your game. This is actually one of Unrivaled's biggest advantages, and they need to be hammering this point home in their counter pitch to players. Sure, Project B might pay more, but who's going to watch games at 4 a.m. Eastern Time? How are you going to build your personal brand when American fans can't see you play? What happens to your endorsement deals when you're invisible to your primary market? Because here's the brutal reality of professional sports in 2025. Your salary is only part of your income. The real money for top athletes comes from endorsements, social media partnerships, personal brand deals, and all of that requires visibility. If you're playing in Singapore at times when American audiences are asleep, you're sacrificing all of that visibility for a bigger paycheck. For some players, that math works out. For others, especially younger players trying to build their brands, that's a catastrophic miscalculation. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Project B knows this is a problem. That's why they're targeting veterans like Alyssa Thomas and Nneka Ogwumike, players who already have established brands and don't need the constant visibility to maintain their endorsement deals. If you're Unrivaled, you should be pivoting your entire recruitment strategy right now to focus on younger players who need that American exposure. Make them understand that taking Project B's money means sacrificing their long-term earning potential for short-term cash.
Project B at this stage wants to coexist with the W. Now, I will say this. Since it's its inaugural season, I doubt there's an exclusivity with the WNBA now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's no way the WNBA season starts back up and just like that, they can terminate their deal and focus. You understand? There's definitely some fine print that limits some of the movement if there is a 2026 WNBA season.
This is the breaking point moment. This is where everything we've been building toward crystallizes into one unavoidable truth. If there's no WNBA season in 2026, everything changes. Think about what that means. The entire structure of women's professional basketball in America collapses. Players who've been using Unrivaled and Project B as leverage suddenly have no leverage. The WNBA Players Union loses all negotiating power, and whoever has the most money wins by default. That's why this moment is so critical. Because right now, we're watching three entities play chicken with each other. The WNBA is saying, accept our CBA offer or risk losing everything. Unrivaled is saying, pay us or we'll keep your players busy in the off-season. Project B is saying, we'll pay more than anyone, but you